Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I was tagged by the lovely J Book Lover to do the Intimidating TBR Tag, I think is the name of it. I will put links to both her video and the original video down below, and let's get right into the questions. So the thing that you have to know before we go in is that my TBR pile is so preposterous that I could have filled every question on this tag 4 or 5 times over and not run out of books, so I had to be very selective in what I picked for this tag. The first question is, what book have you been unable to finish? I picked 2 books for this. These are books that I have started and am liking, just for various reasons I haven't finished them yet. The first is City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm, not very far into this one, sadly. I keep picking this book up and getting, a little bit further, and I am definitely really liking it. I think that it's got some really interesting themes about imperialism and religion and fantasy and miracles and stuff. It's got a really cool world and main character. It's got a murder mystery element. It's got spy novel, like thriller type elements to it. I'm really liking it. I just haven't been able to get that far into it yet. And the next is a book called H2O. This is by Virginia Bergen. It is a YA apocalypse thing. There are lots of these, but this one, the premise is that all of the water on Earth, I guess, suddenly becomes unsafe. Not only is it unsafe to drink, but it's unsafe to even just have it touch your skin. So immediately most of the population dies, and the main character, Ruby, there are a lot of YA apocalypse heroines that are named Ruby recently, because The Darkest Minds was also named Ruby. Anyway, Ruby is one of the few survivors, and I'm about halfway through this one. I'm enjoying it. It is pretty gruesome because there's so much death, and a lot of novels take place, they're sort of post-apocalyptic, so the bad thing has already happened and now we're sort of living in the aftermath. This is like in the middle of the bad thing. Like, we see a lot of people die in this book. And so because of that, I can't really read it at night, and that's when most of my free reading time happens. So yeah, haven't finished it yet, but I probably will. They describe her narration on the back as candid, and I think that that's a pretty good adjective. She's very upfront about how she's feeling and what's happening, and she talks like a teenager. And she uses this thing where because she knows that, she can't swear, which she thinks is ridiculous, instead of swearing, she puts a little butterfly in the text. I'm gonna zoom in on this real quick. So this is really early on in the novel, but you can see what I mean of the butterflies in the text instead of swearing, which I think is kind of clever and fun. So those are the 2 books that I've been unable to finish. The next few questions all begin the same way, which is, what book have you yet to read because, fill in the blank here. So for the next question, it's, what book have you yet to read because you just haven't had the time? I have 3 for these. I know, I could have picked like 5 more too, but the 3 that I've picked are The Mirror Empire, The Worldbreaker Saga Book 1 by Cameron Hurley. This is an epic fantasy. I honestly don't really know a lot about the plot. It was recommended to me by a friend and it sounded really cool when he was talking about it. I've just had a lot to read, so I haven't gotten to this one yet. The next one is The Traitor Bar Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. This is about a lesbian civil servant who is working to undermine the empire that she is supposedly working for because they took over her homeland, and she is considered a traitor to her people because they don't know that that is what she is doing. And the last book in the category is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is part of the Grisha world. The first book was, oh, what was that one called? It wasn't Daughter of Smoke and Bone, that was Laini Taylor. It was something similar to that though. Okay, so the first book was called Shadow and Bone. I was close. So this one is not a direct sequel, but it is set in the same world as the Grisha trilogy, and it is a heist story, and I love heists. And so I definitely want to get to this one. I've just been really busy, so I haven't yet, but this is on the list. The next category is, what book have you yet to read because it is a sequel. I have 2 for this. The first is Sound by Alexandra Duncan. This is a, not exactly sequel, but it is a companion that takes place after the first one, so I count that as a sequel, to Salvage by Alexandra Duncan, which was in my top 5 of 2014, 14, I guess. And that one is about a girl who has been living in space her whole life, sort of getting outcasted from society and cast down onto Earth and having to like find her own way. And this one apparently follows the story of the girl that she ends up sort of taking care of on Earth when she's, you know, more grown up and is like a teenager. So I am really excited about this one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. This is gonna be a common theme. The next book that is a sequel is The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rutkowski. This was in a haul recently. This is one that I am going to be getting to very soon because I've really enjoyed this series and I've been hearing really good things about the conclusion to this series. So yeah, I think most people probably know what this series is, so I'm gonna move on to the next one. So the next question is, what is a book that you have yet to read because you read a different book by the same author and didn't enjoy it? For me, that is Walk on Earth a Stranger by Rae Carson. I mentioned this in a haul a while ago, maybe a couple months ago. I didn't hate her first book, which was Daughter of Fire and Thorns, I think, but I just didn't love it that much. But this one has a totally different setting and I just thought it would be cool, and I didn't like hate her writing, so I thought that I would give it a shot. It is set in the California Gold Rush. I'm not sure that this has been getting the greatest reviews though, so I don't know if it's really gonna be something that's gonna be high on my list, but it is on there and we'll see how it goes. So the next category is, what is a book that you have yet to read because you're just not in the mood for it? So I have two books for this category. The first is The Rose Society by Marie Lu. This is a sequel to The Young Elites, which I read, I think like a year and a half ago, and I liked it. I just haven't been that motivated to get into this one. I like Marie Lu's writing. I don't love it. I thought that her Legend series was pretty predictable. I didn't think that it really did anything new, but I have really liked The Young Elites magic system and everything, so you know, I think that it has promise. I just haven't really been in the mood to get into it recently. And the next one is Exquisite Captive by Heather Demetrios. This is a urban fantasy YA thing that is about a girl who I believe is a genie or something? Yes. Okay, so it is set in the modern day, but it is with this like ancient genie who's trapped by this like Hollywood guy, I guess. I don't really know a lot about it. I know that this was getting a lot of buzz back when it came out, which I think was like a year ago now? Maybe a little more than a year ago, actually. So it's probably something that I would enjoy once I got into it. I'm just not that in the mood for reading stories about women being held captive right now. I don't know, but I've been hearing good things about it, so hopefully I'll get to it. And the next question is, what is a book that you have yet to read because it is humongous? For this one, I have The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, which is book 1 of the Dandelion Saga, I think. This is one of those like epic fantasy series in the sort of Game of Thrones style, which I tend to not read because they're just really not my thing. This is like 600 and something pages, which isn't the biggest book that I think maybe I've even ever read. I think maybe I've read longer, but I just don't really get into these very much. The reason I am planning on reading this is for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge of the category of read a book that's more than 600 pages. I have been hearing some really interesting things about it. Apparently it is more Asian inspired rather than European inspired in its fantasy, so I'm always more interested in that. I just am worried that it's gonna be one of those like 300 tertiary characters that come in random spots and you're supposed to remember them even though you haven't seen them in 200 pages kind of novels. Not generally my favorite, but we will see how this goes. The next one is, what is a book that you have yet to read because it was a cover buy that then turned out to have bad reviews? I don't really have a lot of these because I tend to actually pay attention to the reviews before I buy something, and 9 times out of 10. So I have 2 books that kind of count. The first is Serafina by Rachel Hartman. This one actually is not the one that has been getting bad reviews. It is the sequel that has been getting bad reviews, and so I'm just not sure that I want to get into a series that doesn't turn out satisfying. Okay, so I don't really know anything about this. I know that it is a world where humans and dragons live together, and the main girl, Serafina, has some kind of secret, and my guess is that she's actually a dragon because I feel like that's probably Serafina. Even though she's a human magician, I'm guessing that she's some sort of shapeshifter. I don't know that at all. That's just a guess based on what I read on the back and what I see on the front. So this one in and of itself has been getting good reviews, but the reviews on the sequel have been really mixed, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna get into this. So the next book is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. This one hasn't been getting bad reviews, but it's been getting more mixed reviews than I anticipated when I picked it up. So apparently it is a fantasy fantasy that is based off of Rome, and it's got things like slavery and empire and rebellion and stuff. I haven't gotten to it mostly because I'm not sure how the reception's been. Like, it's been kind of lukewarm on it, so I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll like it. I do like Rome. And the last question is, what is the most intimidating book in your TBR pile? This is a toss-up between the previously mentioned Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, mostly because this kind of book just isn't really my thing, and the other one is one that has been on my TBR pile forever. I don't know if I'll ever get to it, but it is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I have no idea how to say that, but this is a book that most people have at least heard of, so probably most of you have a sort of passing familiarity with this. It's got, I think, at least 2 or 3 competing narratives to it, and it's supposed to be like a really trippy read, and there's like multiple colors that like indicate different speakers or something. I don't know. It's about a guy in a house, and the house is driving him crazy, or it's possessed, and there's something about minotaurs, and I don't know, people have been really weird about this book, and I just think that it might be a little pretentious for me, honestly, but a lot of people also love this book, so it's been on my TBR pile for like over a year. I don't know if I'll ever get to it. So that is actually gonna be it for my intimidating TBR pile. I know that that is a little bit ridiculous, and that is maybe like a quarter of the books that I've been trying to get to read. So the final question is, who do you tag? It's not something I really do that much, so I'm gonna skip that part, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any books that you've read. Maybe if you can talk them up a little bit, I'll move them higher onto my TBR list, and I will see you guys very soon with another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Oh God, really? Babe. Yeah, did you want to be in the video? Oh, okay.